You know, child, there's a weight in silence heavier than any stone, and I've carried it for near 50 years. I've told you bedtime tales, stories about your mother, even about the farm we lost and the summers we spent chasing fireflies. But I've never told you about the night your grandfather disappeared. Not truly. Not the part that matters. Tonight I will. Because last week, someone left a note on my porch. No name, no signature, just 5 words. It's time for the final truth. Now I don't scare easy. But those words, they cut through the years like a blade. Back in the summer of 1973, I was living in a small town tucked between the Missouri River and a row of dying hills. Cedar Hollow. A place that looked ordinary, sounded ordinary, but it wasn't. Beneath the church bells and grain silos, that town hid a heartbeat that didn't belong to the living. I was 27, newly married, working nights at a diner called Eddie's Grill. Your grandfather, Thomas Rayburn, was the golden boy of the county. His daddy ran the local bank. His mama ran the town gossip. And me? I was the daughter of the woman folks whispered about when they thought no one was listening. They called my mama the secret keeper. People came to her porch when the moon was up, carrying envelopes, trinkets, sometimes nothing but words. She'd listen, nod, sometimes weep, then send them away lighter. We were poor as dirt, but our door never stayed shut. I never understood what she did, not until after she died. She'd tell me, "Truth is currency, child. Spend it wisely. Keep it safer than gold." I thought it was her way of sounding wise. I didn't know she meant it literally. The night of her funeral, I found a box under her bed, oak wood, carved with a circle of keys. Inside were dozens of folded notes, each sealed in wax, each marked with a symbol. I remember holding one up to the light. It bore a serpent wrapped around a scale, and beneath the notes lay a silver token, engraved with the initials SS. I thought it stood for Sarah Shepherd, her name, but I was wrong. A week after we buried her, a man came to the diner, tall, thin, eyes pale as a ghost. He didn't order coffee or pie. He just asked, "Are you her daughter?" When I said yes, he nodded slowly, like he'd been expecting me. "You'll need to come with me," he said, "before you make a mistake with what's in that box." My skin went cold. "How do you know about the box?" I asked. He smiled. "Because it doesn't belong to you. It belongs to us." I should have run, should have called the sheriff. But curiosity, it's a poison I've never learned to resist. I followed him out to the edge of town, to a house I'd never noticed before. It was big, too big for Cedar Hollow. White columns, iron gate, curtains drawn like eyelids that never opened. Inside, the air smelled of cedar and smoke. There were 5 people seated in a circle, each holding a small object, a locket, a ring, a ribbon, a coin. They called themselves the Circle of Silence. The man introduced me as the new heir. I laughed then, thinking it was a joke. But their faces were solemn, their eyes full of the kind of knowledge that burned holes in innocence. One woman, a gray-haired figure draped in black lace, spoke first. "Your mother traded truths," she said. "She bought protection with them. Lives were spared, debts erased, fortunes built. Every secret has value, child, and every trade has its cost. You've inherited both." I remember trembling, feeling the floor tilt under me. "I don't understand," I whispered. The man, the one who brought me, placed a folded paper in my hand. "You will," he said. "This is your first exchange." It was a confession, handwritten. A man's words saying he'd burned down a warehouse to claim the insurance, killed 2 workers in the blaze. His name was redacted, but the address wasn't. "Deliver it to the sheriff," the man told me. Say nothing more. The society will handle the rest." I did as told. The next day, the sheriff arrested a businessman from Kansas City who'd just donated $500,000 to Cedar Hollow's new school. By evening, the man was dead in his cell. Suicide, they called it, but the Circle called it balance. I couldn't sleep that night. I kept seeing flames licking at the dark. I told Thomas about it, thinking he'd talk sense into me. But instead he grabbed my shoulders and said, "Don't you see, Clara? This could make us untouchable. Whatever they're doing, it's power. Real power." That was the first time I saw greed in his eyes. Weeks turned to months. I delivered secrets, sealed in wax, never reading them, never asking. In return, favors came my way. Our debts vanished. Thomas got promoted and the bank forgave our mortgage. We were climbing higher, but the air grew thinner. I could feel something closing in. Then one night, your grandfather came home late, his face pale and hands trembling. "They know," he whispered. "They know what I did." I didn't understand what he did. He poured himself a drink, downed it in one gulp. "I thought I could use it," he said. "Trade one truth for another." I gave them a name that wasn't mine to give. I begged him to tell me whose name, but he just kept shaking his head. "Once it's traded, it's theirs." He muttered, "No truth ever leaves the Circle unpaid." The next morning he was gone. His truck found by the river, keys still in the ignition. Nobody ever recovered. The sheriff ruled it an accident, but I knew better. For years I lived with that silence. Raised your mother alone, never speaking of what happened. The Circle disbanded. Or so I thought. The letters stopped. The world moved on. I built walls around memory, thick as stone. Until last week, when that note appeared. It's time for the final truth. I burned the note, but the smell lingered. That's how I knew it wasn't over. They don't send warnings. They send reminders. And tonight, when I saw that black sedan parked down the road, engine running with no driver in sight, I knew the past had finally found me. You're staring at me now like I've told you a ghost story. And maybe I have. But listen carefully. Everything I'm about to say next will decide what happens to this family. Because the final truth they want isn't about me. It's about you. When I say it's about you, child, I don't mean it as some bedtime riddle or family metaphor. I mean it in the oldest, coldest way truth can exist. Written, sealed, and traded long before you were born. The Circle of Silence didn't just deal in other people's secrets. They dealt in futures, in legacies, in the kind of trades that echo across generations. After your grandfather vanished, I thought I could outrun it. I left Cedar Hollow, changed my name, started over in a small Ohio town where no one asked questions. I told myself the Circle couldn't reach beyond those hills. But silence is a thread that never breaks. It just winds tighter until it cuts. For decades, nothing happened. Then, about 10 years ago, I got a letter with no return address. Inside was a photograph of you, barely a child, holding your first fishing rod by the lake. And on the back, in neat script, it said, "The debt still stands." I burned that too, just like the others. But fire doesn't erase a promise. You see, my mother, your great-grandmother, did something long before you or I could undo it. When I was 5, you know, she came home one night with her hands trembling and her eyes hollow. That was the night she made her greatest trade. She told me later in a voice so soft I almost didn't believe it, that she'd offered her family's fortune for protection. But protection from what? She never said. When she died, I thought the debt ended with her. But that silver token in the box, It wasn't a keepsake. It was proof of an ongoing bargain. Every generation had to pay a truth forward to keep the next one safe. I didn't know that until too late, when your grandfather gave them a name that wasn't his to give. He broke the balance. The circle took him to restore it. And since then, they've been waiting, patient as the grave, for me to finish what he interrupted. That's what the note means. The final truth. My time to pay. But here's the part I never understood until recently. The night before she died, my mother told me, the final truth belongs to the daughter. I thought she meant me. I was her only child. But no, she meant the one who comes after, the one untouched by the trade, born of both guilt and innocence. You, child, you're the daughter of the secret keeper's line. And now, they want what's yours. Don't look at me like that. I know how it sounds. Madness, superstition, a ghost story tangled in guilt. But every secret in that box was real, every life exchange documented, every promise fulfilled with blood or silence. I thought maybe I could end it myself, go to them, tell them everything. So I went back. Last winter, I drove to what was left of Cedar Hollow. The town was half gone, the diner burned to rubble, the church boarded up. But the house, the Circle's house, was still standing. Dust and ivy covered it, but the iron gate creaked open like it had been waiting. Inside, the same circle of chairs stood untouched, except there were only 4 this time. And sitting among them was that same man, the one who found me in the diner 50 years ago. He hadn't aged a day. I asked how it was possible, and he smiled in that same hollow way. Truth doesn't age, he said. It just changes owners. Then he handed me a sealed envelope and told me not to open it until the time came. When the past finds you, he said, you'll know. That envelope sits in the drawer beneath this table now, the one you've been eyeing since I started talking. Go ahead, open it. It's all right. I've read it 1,000 times with my eyes closed. What does it say? Yes, just what I thought. The final truth must return by blood. That's their way of saying the last truth can't be spoken. It has to be inherited, lived, and then surrendered willingly. I spent years trying to decode it, to find a way out, but the Circle doesn't deal in mercy, only in exchange. When that black sedan parked outside tonight, I knew they were ready to collect. But here's where I changed the game. You remember the old oak chest in the attic? The one I never let your mother touch? Inside it is the box I found under my mother's bed. Every note, every secret still sealed. You'll take it tonight, before dawn, and you'll drive east until you hit the river. There's a bridge, Stonecross Bridge. You'll throw the box into the water no matter what you hear or see. Don't read a single note. Don't look back. Once it's gone, the trade is broken. The Circle's power ends where the truth drowns. I can feel you trembling. But listen to me. I've lived long enough to know that evil doesn't always wear horns. It wears promises. The Circle thrived because people feared their own confessions more than death itself. But you still have the kind of courage that doesn't know it's courage yet. That's why I'm telling you all this, because when they come, and they will, you'll know what to do. Now hush, hear that? The sound of tires on gravel, headlights sweeping the porch. They're here. Don't move. I'll talk to them first. If anything happens to me, you run. Do you understand? You run and don't stop until the river swallows that box whole. Don't argue. I've been keeping secrets longer than you've been breathing. This one, though, ends tonight. All right, they're knocking. The same rhythm I remember. The Circle summons. 3 slow taps, then silence. My hands are steady. Funny, after all these years I thought I'd be afraid, but I'm not. There's peace in finishing what you started. I can see their faces through the window. Still 5 of them, still unchanged by time. They want me to open the door, but they won't cross the threshold unless invited. That's one of their rules. Truth must be given, never taken. I suppose that's my last bit of power, isn't it? To decide what gets spoken. If I'm gone by morning, promise me you'll remember what I said. Not as a curse, but as a warning. Secrets live longer than people, and some truths are better buried than redeemed. You'll take the car keys from the hook by the door. Drive east, don't stop. And if you ever hear someone whisper your name when no one's there, don't answer. That's just the echo of a promise trying to find its owner. I can hear them calling now. My name. Over and over like a prayer. I'll go, child. I'll go and give them the ending they've waited for. But not the one they expect. Because I've learned something they never understood. Truth may be traded, but love? Love rewrites the terms. You were never meant to pay my debt. I was meant to protect you. That's what a secret keeper does. She doesn't just hold what's hidden. She chooses what stays lost. So remember that. When the night feels too quiet, when the river hums low and the wind sounds like whispers, that's me, telling you it's done. And if the world ever asks who you are, don't say you're my grandchild. Say you're the last daughter of the secret keeper. Then walk away.